hiding in the shadows, though.
Yeah, Cuzz looking for that opportunity. Well done, it comes down. There's the Magnus Storm. Yeah, Keen doesn't have a lot of options, and now Counter-Strike is on cooldown as well. In comes BDD, though. Keen, can he actually get the kill? There it is for 369. Emperor's Divide is going to pick that one up.
Looking into round that this is JDG. Ruler.
Yeah, Hook is going to connect there. Ruler going to be taken down underneath. As okay, Cuzz is just going to get caught out. The Magnus Storm is going to be used. And there's the shutdown to come through. Cuzz, the last man standing. And JDG, I think they've just gone to match point.
Although they are in KT's house, it is JDG that moves on to match point to put yet another brick in that golden road. We set it up at the beginning of the day, and we also set up how difficult it is as a favorite to come out on top time and time again. And they were in fact put behind in the first game of this series. But then you see why we consider them such favorites in this tournament overall, Xayah. And there are some players that are playing out of their minds, and I want to start with Missing in that regard.
Yeah, absolutely. Missing and Kanavi, and we can kind of just jump into this Telestrator breakdown that I actually have for you guys, because we wanted to talk about the importance of Missing and Kanavi, their role in this game. So, you just have to really track how Missing and how Kanavi are really going to pressure the backline here. And when we talk about creating space, this is what I'm going to be talking about. It's about target selection, it's about timing. So as they're flashing forward and actually going in, Lehends flashes in, watch Missing here. Missing is going to pop his ult to use that for peel and then immediately flash forward and going to find an angle to go in right on the backline. So there it is, flashing forward, charms up aiming, and then he's going to continue that forward onto a charm, onto BDD. So now what does this do? It creates this situation in the backline where all of a sudden, what's happened to Cuzz? Cuzz has now been isolated. The carries are getting pushed back. That's creating space for 369, for Knight, for Ruler. Keen hasn't even really had time to arrive yet because they're so explosive with this engage. And then Kanavi follows through, pushes in towards the backline as well to pressure them back. Yes, he dies, but it is that sacrifice, it is that creation of space that allows them to succeed in this. And that is why I thought when Wukong got locked in, it was such an important pick.
Yeah, it was super important. I mean, this is a pick that Kanavi is known for. Like, if you want to win a game against JDG, you do not let him pick this Wukong. He's 21-6 on it this year, set with a 77.8% win rate. And you're looking at how much damage he's actually doing in this game. I also do want to call out, obviously, Missing's Rakan. It's gone through all of these games. KT is going to have to find an answer for it going forward.
I mean, that's the thing. We came into today thinking they're gonna have to find new champions in the support role because Enchanters came back, but it's not even about this because JDG knows exactly what they want to do, and this is the deadly team that we know. Orianna, Wukong, Rakan. How do you access the backline when you have Xayah and the champions that KT picked here? Because I'm like, they don't have the right blinds to fight JDG's composition here, and JDG, they're always going to punish the slightest mistakes, and this is what I was expecting from them.
It's an uphill battle for KT for sure. Let's talk about some matchups in specific, maybe starting in the mid lane. And Emily, about your point that you were talking to me about in the break, Knight and 369, and the fact that it was hard for them to leave top esports and take this step into this JDG.
Yeah, I mean, I know for Knight especially, that's why you see him and 369 flashing those TES flares as after the game-winning team fight when they're pushing down mid. But it's him versus BDD, and one thing I do want to point out in this previous game, BDD was still performing really well, but there were no ways that he could get the poke down into onto Ruler, right? Like outside of Ruler, getting caught up a little bit, there was no way with this composition, especially with all of the dive that they have with the Rakan and with the Wukong, there was no way for BDD to actually get in and do as much damage before he died.
And that's why I love the answer, right? And I love the play from Kanavi and Missing because they're the ones going for it. They're the ones creating that space. BDD got ultimate comfort. Like, this is his most played champion. This is BDD's famous Azir, and they were able to punish him. But I also want to talk about the top lane because I do think the top lane didn't go, necessarily to how people were expecting it to be. 369, I think, came in. A lot of people were expecting him to really kind of handle business, but Keen, I think, has been playing very, very well throughout. And I think he's one of the big factors that is actually keeping KT so competitive in this series. But it did feel like finally for the first time that 369 was able to actually, you know, get something going in the laning phase in this third game, was able to start finally having a little bit more dominance because Cuzz wasn't playing as heavily towards topside in this one.
And that's what it was supposed to be, all right. Like when you look at this top lane, and especially the way top lane has been played so far, you want to contain the pressure that the other top laner is going to throw at you. When you look at the first game, Kid seemed to have the upper hand on 369, but they passed like the new gear, it feels like, in this JDG lineup, and now I don't see Keen honestly coming on top of 369, especially given the way he's been playing for the past 2 games.
And the big thing to me is that forward percentage, right? Because this is what we talked about with 369. Like, what is he best at? He's best at absorbing pressure from his opponent and being able to show up in team fights later.
It is, and we said it already, JDG, they look absolutely poised to take this series. I don't want to count KT out just yet, but it's just the class that oozes from this team once they get into a comfortable position, and once, I think, Xayah, also they force themselves into a comfortable position.
Absolutely, and I think that's the most impressive thing about it. You know, we heard Vetti's talking about at the start of the day how decisive this team is, and that's one of the things I think really sets them in a class of their own, is that they find one mistake, one window, they take the team fight, they pounce, and it feels like the game is just over. It never feels like you get that next chance to come back.
KT have to find the opening or they are out of the World Championship, and it would be JDG that moves on. Let's find out what happens in Game 4.
Thank you so much, Shocks. And I don't know. I have a feeling that we might be in a situation where JDG are ready to run away with it. KT, can they bring us to a Game 5? It will not be something that we often expect from this team. Once they start down the slippery slope, it's difficult for them to turn around. But one thing giving a little hope was their expressions sitting at their PCs as they came out of the coach's booth. Looking a little bit in higher spirits. Maybe they got a plan moving into this Game 4.
And I think you need to against the behemoth that is JDG. I mean, Emily was touching on it the desk. This is a team that was built to succeed. You've got 369, who has changed his entire play pattern from being a massive carry on top esports to taking a step back to allowing people like Knight and Ruler to take over. You have Kanavi, who's doing so well with being able to play off the advantages that he can pick up from those lanes as well.
Whoa!
There, wow. Wukong immediately gone. I mean, that's kind of the perfect champion for Kanavi because he likes to play carries that can team fight. So I'm not surprised to see KT kind of giving that respect across.
It does mean that you either have to give over Rakan again to Missing, or you have to, first pick Xayah. Doesn't feel like there's a lot of good options here.
Certainly doesn't.
The opening, given how dominant JDG have been on the Rakan.
Also, the Orianna going across the night once more as well. I mean, he's been very solid in that mid lane. Yes, BDD will probably go back to the Azir, but as you say, the Rakan works very well with that Orianna. You can still go for a lot of these big team fight junglers as well. So I think for this one, JDG, there's the Orianna. More than likely, I'm actually going to leave, I'd say, Kanavi's champion pool to the second rotation. I'm more than likely going to see if they can pick up the Aatrox for 369 on the top lane. He's been very happy for that, unless they want to try and separate him from it here.
I really like this, though. KT just going to change the game plan completely. A little bit more single target pick, and the Lulu was fantastic from Lehends in game number 1. Go back to what worked, right?
And the biggest problem we've seen is that the bot priority hasn't been going for aiming Lehends. Game 1, it worked fantastically, because you know Kanavi wants to play through a solo laner. So if you can then just, in that isolated 2v2, get these little advantages, start to contest the dragons, it disrupts a lot of the JDG hype train. So this is a really good start for KT coming in on this blue side.
And it's actually a big pivot here from JDG. They've been completely okay saying, hey, Ruler, let's just pick something. Well, we'll figure out something for you eventually. Good luck, you know, they're gonna pinch your champion pool, and I think with the Sivir performance as well, showcased again that he plays plenty of AD carry champions at a very high level. But this time around, I do think the Xayah Rakan, or the Kai'Sa Rakan is combo we've seen countless times. As long as you can get through the laning phase, the mid to late game is ludicrously strong.
The thing is, though, this hasn't been a good Kai'Sa time whenever Xayah is open. 22% win rate against the Xayah over the course of Worlds. It's been very, very difficult to get any sort of control over that. Even when the Xayah is able to have her ultimate, if you ever try to go in, she's got a bunch of self-peel. And then paired with alongside the Lulu, she's got even more safety and more opportunities to polymorph a Kai'Sa, who tosses herself in to try and find those fights. So I think BDD and the rest of the team are going to be very, very happy with how KT have opened up this draft, even if his Azir is going to be taken away.
And the Vianari combination going to be there because the Azir respect was paid here by JDG. Final band come through from KT. They are waiting for the very last second, and it will be Rel taken off the board. But Jax is now up, and 369 could grab that if he would like.
This could be a sick Sylas angle for BDD, though.
Oh,
like,
true.
when you look at the opportunity to play Vi Sylas into an Orianna, you've got the quickness that's already there, the shockwave you can toss onto yourself as well, and the fact that everyone's going to be super short range, you're going to get a ton of value off in these fights. So I'm curious if BDD is just willing to pull that one out, especially now with another Lee Sin locked in here as well.
It's a big one for Kanavi.
I saw a wry smile on Kanavi's face, like someone's telling him to lock Maokai. And instead, actually gets to have some fun. Lee.
Yeah, no, they probably say that in like Chinese, and then in Korean, Kanavi's like, ruler, just lock Lee, it's fine.
I will say as well for Kanavi, like, in 2021, I considered him one of the best Lee Sins, if not the best Lee Sin in the world. His plays were absolutely insane. He tore apart teams like IG single-handedly on this pick. Now, hasn't got quite back to that same level of hype that we saw in 2021, but I'm very excited to see what he can do. Difficult matchup when you're up against things like the Jax and also the Xayah.
Oh, and BDD, he's brought it out. His Syndra was legendary. 2 years ago, on the world stage, this was one of the champions that he utilized when he went all the way against EDG. And man, he's always been so good at this champion. Very, very fun. See him back on it once again.
It's also him playing it against Knight, which I think is really cool. Knight scatters. I still have nightmares of the scatters that Knight was able to find at MSI. Some of the team fight setup was incredible.
He brings it back.
And it is the... Actually, yeah, AP Gragas is one of the best matchups into the Jax, right? You're able to, as soon as you pick up a little bit of items, consistently outtrade him and counter what the Jax will try to do.
It's also just the fact that it's 369 Gragas. Like, he's so incredibly good in this pick, and it's such a pick that's kind of become synonymous with him, especially after there was a 2020 documentary that was released on Top Esports where Kai'Sa was ripping him apart, being like, you can't play this champion, you can't play Nar, what the hell are you doing? And now he's completely transformed himself from the man that he once was into such a big Gragas connoisseur. It's going to be a doozy in that top lane to try and beat Keen.
Gragas also, you're playing into two immobile carries on the enemy team. Both Syndra and Xayah don't really have a good way of dealing with the Cask, and the amount of teamfight setup that's available for JDG is a very scary thing to face.
I think it's also the fact you can try and get some of the ultimates like the Xayah ultimate out early with a Cask, right?
Yeah.
Which then opens up for Kanavi to try and make some fun things happen, I will say, on this pick, or even try and set up for people like the Kai'Sa to have several different angles of attack. It feels like this could be the linchpin that JDG needed, I already said Top Esports, JDG needed to find the success here.
At the same time, I do think that this draft feels more similar to game number 1 for KT. It's very pick-oriented, try and play aggressively for isolating individual champions. That's what got them the winning game number 1. See if it's enough here, or if JDG gets another step closer to that golden road.
Yeah, paving another brick, as it were. But we are ready, ladies and gentlemen. It is time to jump onto Summoner's Rift for what could be the final time today, unless KT can queue up the Silver Scrapes. Like you were talking about, going back to a similar draft to game number 1. More of a 4-1, not a 1-3-1. Doesn't have the Akali in an inside lane. Syndra is a bit of a sitting duck. But this composition can snowball extraordinarily hard, and their pick potential is immense.
And I also think it gives you the control you need here as KT. Very strong mid-jungle 2v2. You burn an early summoner from Knight, that's a lane you can continuously revisit. You control mid, you control bot by default as well, where aiming Lehends can continuously push in. As long as you can track, which is what KT are trying to do, you're going to be in a good spot. Missing will spot that ward has gone in on the bottom side alongside Ruler, so at least for the moment they'll know that they've been warded out.
Well, 369 does have the belly bot. Keen is going to leap on top of him. There's some grasp stacks. Nailing it. Another leaf string? Okay, interesting. But is going to interrupt the auto attack with the body slam. Nicely done.
Yeah, even with the early cooldown reduction, right, if you hit your E, still going to be the Jax at level 1 that needs to be respected as early fighting here.
Yeah, Lehends immediately has to use the exhaust. He's been ignited as well, as Ruler could be in trouble. Morto's coming down, and missing is going to be just coaxed out of the river for now.
That's
They're getting zoned.
That's the bot lane priority exactly that you want here for KT, though. Keeping missing at bay, you can see Aiming is going to cut off Ruler from hitting this wave as well. So KT immediately trying to get control on this bottom side, and with Cuzz already starting to move down here, this could be where they're just trying to put their base. Say, look, we've invested too much in Keen on the top side. He will be fine to scale. We need to get Aiming and Lehends in a position where they can carry this game.
Much better matchup this time around, it feels like, for Aiming as well, especially considering the fact that he has the Lulu. Lehends is on a bully, and he's very good at that style of play. Counter-Strike going to be used nicely here for Keen on this top side. And BDD trying to put pressure on tonight. Feels like BDD has had a lot of priority when he has the matchup to do it. See whether that's going to continue here in this lane.
And we'll see. A really big wave is being stacked up. We're also seeing Kanavi actually pivot here towards the bot side. I'm wondering if KT actually wants to try and go for this, or maybe catch Kanavi in the rotation. Cuzz is making his way over.
He could blast cone in there, but doesn't actually know exactly where Kanavi is.
Oh, he's going to wait it out. He's going to try and catch him off guard. Or he might try to go for Knight.
I think it's Knight in the mid lane he's looking for. Lehends is starting to move up. Either way, it's going to be a mismatch, either mid or in this jungle setup.
Well, Cuzz completely unseen. He can blast cone over, but instead the Vault Breaker is going to be charged. Finds it there onto Kanavi. And now it's a Smite War. Ward is in the brush there for KT. Is missing, moves on up. I believe it was Cuzz that secured it. Going to be able to take that one away from Kanavi. Already a leg up, but they're looking for more. Vault Breaker connects once again. The flash forward from Lehends, but Kanavi's able to get over the wall with his own. And now the Grand Entrance comes forward. They know that Lehends is vulnerable. Ruler is looking for it. Kanavi finds it. First blood goes to Ruler, and BDD finds a scatter onto 3. Kanavi goes down, and now Ruler is running. Cuzz is going to push him away, and Knight not going to be able to get in on this one. KT answer back.
And it's mayhem here early on. Both AD carries are able to pick up a kill. And a lot of summoners down here as KT, the early invade, will end up. Oh, Keen, careful there.
The thing is, though, Knight actually invested his TP to get into that. They saw the invade was a potential here. Knight reset, TP'd back into lane, but couldn't actually battle BDD for control over the wave before BDD to come across. 369 will push Keen away, but it means that actually if you look at BDD, he's going to be able to shove this wave in, get a much better opportunity in this mid lane thanks to that TP ward, and that'll open up KT to try and make some more plays off the back of this.
And you see the confidence here for KT, right? Going in hard on Kanavi. This from Lehends, though, a little bit over eager. I think if the rotation is already there, as BDD is in trouble.
Yeah, meanwhile, in live, you can see BDD struggling here. The dissonance connects. There's the slow, and the punch the ground from Kanavi. Locks down the kill on the Syndra. Without flash, kind of a sitting duck there in that mid lane. Nicely capitalized on by Kanavi.
Cuzz needed to sit there with BDD to make sure he could crash that wave, then get the TP back in. I mean, if you had this sort of purchase up against a literal mana crystal for Knight, you would have been in such a good spot for BDD. But now Knight gets control over the wave. He's able to reset. And this is just those little mistakes from KT now that JDG are punishing.
Also seeing the fact that 369 is winning this matchup early is kind of insane, because you're not really supposed to have this big of a lead early on, right? And it speaks to the mastery of the champion. It's after you get lost chapter that the matchup becomes really...
he baited it! He baited it!
Kanavi moving over. He was spotted pretty early, but Keen gonna need to flash that one. Sonic Wave was gonna connect, and he had to invest it.
And you can see there for 369, the whole way you play this matchup is body slam the counter strike. By using the body strike early, he just invites Keen to go for it. And as you say, it ends up being in a position now where the wave's in a terrible spot. Kanavi has good control, and now Cuzz trying to respond to that play on the top side by getting Dragon on the bottom end.
Should be able to grab this, of course. Kanavi looking for a bit of a play here in the mid lane once again. He's on the prowl. Nice scatter, though. Going to connect there from BDD. He's going to be able to space himself away from Knight and Kanavi. His flash halfway done, as KT will be able to secure this first round.
The one upside is that with Kanavi showing a mid-wave, Keen actually gets to fix his wave state. We'll see if 369 is able to hold him off, as the first rake will go over to KT. It's a win that they needed, because thus far, feels like JDG have been getting the better end of the trades on the map.
Look at Keen's health bar, though. He ended up taking a really bad trade, and you still have ult there for 369. This wave still not in the best of spots, so Keen tries to fix it, but actually comes back to bite him there in that top end.
Do you think it's pushing into him now? So with the heal, he'll be able to pick up from the fruit in the river. Should be able to at least withstand the pressure. But yeah, again, 369 piloting this matchup so well as Kanavi looking for a lane gank here.
Man's on the prowl. Knockup is going to connect there onto Lehends, who still doesn't have flash. Kanavi comes in with the safeguard. Might be enough space here for KT. JDG getting some much-needed control of this bottom side. They've been falling a little bit behind.
Something we also haven't talked about is that Lehends actually went for exhaust, right? So with these aggressive plays from Kanavi, really have to take into account the amount of damage reduction.
Oh no, is he going to get cancelled again? Yeah.
That's
Didn't know the ward was there because the Q went into the brush and it looked like he was just farming.
Yeah, really nice job there from KT to actually stop the back. It interrupts Kanavi, who's now going to reset. Cuzz going up towards his top side, wants to steal away the red. Won't quite hit 6 off this camp, but at least then can try and play for 3-6-9 in that top lane and even out the flash on the top end.
Another engaged, come forward here is aiming, getting very aggressive. BladeCaller, nice little snare onto Ruler and missing. They're going to be able to shove this wave in, go for that reset that we were looking for. Cuzz's punishment is collecting the Bramble back, and we'll be able to secure that one for himself. 20 seconds on the Rift Herald.
Kanavi also won't know because he's going for his Raptors first, so it means that Cuzz's position, at least right now, not going to get given away just yet. I do think, though, with the fact that Gragas is there, is this healthy, plus has Flash, actually looking for a gank opportunity without 6 feels basically impossible. And this counter matchup by 369, I think going to become a bigger and bigger problem for KT as this Jax. This matchup isn't going to get better.
The thing is, though, now not having ult on 369, I think you missed out on the window to try and fight for Rift Herald. You could already see the reset had come through from missing. You don't have back stealed. Kanavi doesn't have 6 either.
Yeah, Kanavi going to look for this Rift Herald. Lehends in position. Aiming's already up here as well. Looks like the Lee Sin's going to have to exit the situation. BDD keeping Knight at bay, missing, moving forward. JDG a little bit split. We'll see whether they can actually fight for this one because you can see 369 does have the inside track. That is going to be the secure on the Rift Herald. And now 369 has to flash. Counter-strike. Not going to be there. Keen didn't have his flash available to catch up to that Gragas. He's just too nimble. KT, they do get the prize.
And missing the red there for Kanavi meant he didn't hit 6. Scuttle Crab ticked Cuzz over to 6. And now he's got Rift Herald. He's got reinforcements, and 369 might be in trouble.
Yeah, a little bit of a lane swap here is okay. BDD gonna have to flash once again. They're keeping that one on cooldown. He needed to use it. See Knight actually getting some control back in the lane.
Oh, Cuzz trying to look for a punish on Knight here. But Knight positioning so safely. Yeah, not really an opportunity here. And yeah, if Kanavi is 6, I don't even know if BDD, even with the flash, will be okay there as Kanavi.
Okay. Yeah, Keen's here towards his bottom side and he gets the red. Okay, Kanavi just thought that he was going to have to try and smite and hope. And it wasn't quite enough. So Keen is now a Jax with a red. And that feels pretty good, I think.
Especially since Kanavi was like, well, BDD, our Cuzz is coming across. I don't know if I can stick around for long enough to actually take this. So Keen just pokes his head in, says, all right, yeah, you're not going to get this, manages to steal it away. Question mark for me, though, is, all right, what's the story with this Rift Herald? Like, Cuzz, are you going to actually try and move in towards mid? Maybe look for a play with BDD? Or, which I think is the correct call in this situation, just get as much gold as possible onto Aiming. If Aiming's able to control the pace of these fights, he's going to be in such a good spot to be your carry. And he kind of has to be when you look towards like the burst damage that BDD has won't be enough to bring you across the finish line when it comes to these engagements.
I'd also be looking as to what extent KT are able to build bigger leads, because we've seen in the last 2 games that going even just isn't enough against JDG with how well they team fight. You need to get more, and right now, I think a second Dragon would be a really big win. It's up in 40 seconds, but 369 Red are already able to set up some decent trades here on Keen. They're going to try and look for a possible punish just before the Drake.
Well, Cask is not quite going to work out. Kanavi is waiting for this one. I think it might have just been a straight-up bait there from 369.
Oh, yeah.
Keen not going to go for it. Now, Cuzz and Knight. Oh, they do manage to land the scatter, but BDD is just going to get a Rift Herald from Cuzz and not much more.
Knight a little bit too close to the towers. They don't want to overcommit towards that, especially with Dragon in just a couple of seconds. So they will just back away. We'll get the tower plates in the mid lane going across and the control over River. You can see 369 has to back away because he's, well, actually, at least back further out of the lane. So he's not getting caught up by KT as they move down.
Do note that the only ultimate that isn't available right now is 369, his ultimate. We'll see if they actually want to try and go for this. There's also basic, I think there's no mythics done across the board. That is a big spike. A lot of champions will be looking for, and I think KT are just going to give this one up.
Yeah.
Not able to find anything on the cross map either. Might get a teleport out of 369, but that is going to be all.
I was kind of surprised to see KT, the way they skirted around the outside of the Dragon Pit. Like, they got Rift Herald mid, they had the push on Knight, they could have moved into River and really established themselves there, but they almost felt scared to approach River despite the fact that 369 didn't have ult. And now KT kind of setting up once more, 1-for-1 on Dragons, and trying to see if they can find a push onto this bottom side.
Lehends just being as frustrating as possible with repeated glitter lances, aiming. Farming out nicely though, has about a 20 CS advantage, making this Xayah matchup into the Kai'Sa still look pretty Xayah favored as Cuzz looks for the Vault Breaker, doesn't connect it onto Kanavi, who will now make his way out via the chickens. Lehends not going to be able to do too much to missing here.
Lehends been doing a great job of trying to match the jungle pressure though, as maybe he needs it.
Yeah, that is his own chicken thrown back at him. I believe, did Cuzz just manage to get that somehow?
I
even
think
though it was coming down to the
it.
force of will? Interesting. Anyway, Kanavi is just being tracked all over the place. Cuzz looking for even more information. Fully gathered by JDG at the same time, is now aiming the one caught on his own. Killer Instinct comes in. There is the Featherstorm, and they may have moved a little bit far forward as BDD is going to show up. Can he find the scatter is the question. As the knock-up comes in, there is the scatter we were talking about. Ruler with just a ghost, and he'll be just fine.
Gonna be a big win there. You're able to get a teleport out just in exchange for your ghost. For JDG, see BDD should, with the Giga Cones, be able to make his way back to his own lane very quickly. So punish isn't going to be too bad. As Everfrost now done for 369. If you thought the Gragas was annoying to play into before Keen, it's going to get a whole lot worse. So they're teleporting in the middle of the lane. Let's kind of help him out.
Yeah, and kind of like mismatching the body slam with the Everfrost as well, but immediately
It's fine.
369 answers back. And this at least should give a little bit more control to 369 again in these side waves. He's doing a good job of pushing. You kind of want to get to a position as Keen where you can just ignore the damage from 369 and take terrors, but since we've kind of seen that swap over to the AP Gragas build versus what used to be the tank, you just don't really get a chance to fully ignore 369 before he's cleared out the waves entirely.
Yeah, teleport does come through. He's going to avoid the lane completely. Heads towards that bottom side. Ruler was pushing that one in. Teleport used bottom means that KT fighting around here could be a little bit dangerous. There's the flash forward from Cuzz though. They're looking for their target. Polymorph comes in, the exhaust lands onto 369. Aiming is looking for that kill. Takes so long to kill him. They're 1-for-1 so far, but there's the flash forward. They lock that one down. The unleashed power onto Kanavi gets his flash. And he looks to escape. KT looking all right in the 2-for-1.
It's a whiff from 369. He tries to flash body slam flash onto Aiming, but only connects with Lehends. And Aiming then is free firing the entire time, even missing, going two different directions with Knight. It's an absolute disaster.
Cuzz.
Yeah, Vault Breaker is going to get him out of there.
And
that was BDD though. He would have been dead.
yeah, 100% Cuzz is able to make his way out. And I actually think it was Lehends that set up play initially, because he goes in aggressively on Knight as Knight is trying to walk past towards the top and where they have more control, and it forces, or it gets the crown on cooldown. So then the immediate response from Cuzz is with the polymorph, there's no ability to flash in. And as you point out, 369, the exhaust, I think, really big, allows Lehends to live for so long, he even gets the knock up onto Knight, and that allows KT to trade favorably in this fight.
Not being able to actually get onto Aiming, as you say, is like, it's just so difficult. He's got so much damage. Now missing, has to back away. They're trying to move into position here to take over mid.
And Herald actually being picked up because of that earlier play by KT, who are looking to take control in this mid game.
Yeah, and thanks to MasterCard, the lane economy snapshot looking pretty good here for KT. Maybe we will have to find Silver Scrapes, but 369 has something to say about it. They take the Featherstorm from Aiming. But thankfully, he was able to press the button.
That's now Aiming without ulti for the next Dragon, though. And I think that's the timing that JDG were trying to look for. It will be a very small opportunity. You still have flash there for Aiming as well. But if you can get missing with a flash of his own onto position, onto Aiming, as the Dragon spawns, that's what JDG will have to try and play for here.
And it's Chemtech Soul, and 3 apiece for both of these teams on the board. I do think that these crazy powered up plants are actually going to be really interesting in this game. I think that like the Mega Xayah as well, pretty cool. Don't tell Valdez, but I'm actually kind of approving the Chemtech Soul this time around.
I love the chaos.
Yeah.
It's just weird.
I mean, before we got into this, you were talking about like, oh, I want a Chemtech Rift so I can have BDD on Nico.
Yeah, but we wanted
in.
the Nico. Yeah.
But I was going to say, you can do that for Missing, where Missing ends up just blasting itself into position with an ult. So now, Missing, you can see how sneaky he's trying to be right here. He wants to be the one to make that play onto KT. They have no idea Missing's here.
Oh. BDD is so far up. He still doesn't have his flash
flash
available.
He's going to be dead.
Oh no, Missing is going to show himself. BDD tries to scatter to get him out of the way, and he's not going to avoid this one. He's just going to get taken down. Didn't have a stopwatch, and even if he did, he would have just been dead. And now it is going to be a Drake for JDG, you have to assume.
And Missing never committed the ultimate, so he's still in a position where he can threaten that with the flash. KT have to back the hell away. And I'm keeping my eyes on what Keen wants to do, because he's looking up towards this Orianna, who's a little bit vulnerable, especially after KT take this mid lane tower.
So one Chemtech Drake in trade for this outer turret in mid lane. If KT can move towards the top side, then maybe they're going to be able to even out that trade. But with BDD falling down, does skew it in favor of JDG.
Oh, nice. You're being so disrespectful.
Well, no, because they have TP and Knight still has Crown. So, the TP!
Okay, in they come. Keen looks for it. It's 369 that they go for first. Scatter the Week does come through, and there's a cease and desist. Gameplay button comes in, and that is 2 for free for KT.
It's a 2v5! Well, JDG were like, we can take this, and that is coming back to bite them. KT pounce immediately, and they'll move to mid to defend the tower.
Keen, I'm like, where are you going? He's going to get tagged.
You're going to connect. Their Killer Instinct comes in. Ruler wants it. Keen is not going to die just yet.
Ooh. Oh, Missing might be caught out. It's only Cuzz though, so should be fine. Eat some fruit.
Are we ever? Like,
never
I say
dies,
Missing,
man.
but he just doesn't die.
We're giving it to the chaos of the rift. I love
Yes!
this. Let's go.
That's my Chemtech Rift.
They do manage to take the outer turret in the mid lane. Definitely good news. A lot of things really opening up around this map right now.
Oh, aiming.
Kanavi. Oh dear. Another Feather Song put straight on cooldown. There's the kick, goes through Lehends. It's nicely done there. As Keen dives in, Kanavi might be out of position. He should have a safeguard relatively soon.
BDD.
And now the Scatter the Week not going to work out here. There's a flash from Cuzz, and he picks it up. The Mega Cone to disperse the players. And now Cuzz could be on the wrong side of this. Missing, lurking. Lehends finds him. And a grand entrance comes in. I mean, we're not going to be engaging on this one. Just buttons being pressed all over the place, gentlemen.
I think JDG needs to cool it on the button pressing, though. You TP to the top side, you completely mess it up. Then you try to make this play here, completely mess it up. Calm down with the button pressing, even the right clicks as well. Give yourself some time to get back into position.
Easy on the keyboards, gentlemen.
Particularly because this is exactly what KT wants, right? This is, I think, a composition that excels if they can pick off targets one by one. Use the CC chain that they have available between Polymorph, Vi, Syndra, and Jax to take out individual targets, because when the dive on topside happened, I was a little worried. Crown still had to be procced, 369 was coming in, but the CC chain is so powerful that it doesn't really allow JDG to fight or to play the game unless you are ready and have a counterplay available when someone is attempting to get picked off.
Also so good at keeping people alive on KT with like aiming, being able to get out. You got like the opportunity for Keen to leap back out. Exhaust, the heals, the Lehends as well, having the wall growth. It's so difficult to just kill someone if KT are going for these dives. So at the moment, JDG again missing on a mission to get in behind Cuzz, but Cuzz, what can he do here?
Wait, who's flanking who?
Yeah, I don't know. I think everyone's flanking everyone.
I'm losing track.
Lehends is flanking Missing, while Kanavi is flanking Lehends, and Ruler is killing a ward. Cuzz is still here. Of course, finds a Vault Breaker onto Missing, not the target. Cease and desist actually going to be invested here. He's dead. There's the leap strike. Keen's going to lock it down. I thought I'd never see the day. The Missing's overextended because he just seems to survive. Not that time.
The flanks were a puzzle and we just couldn't see the whole picture. But eventually KT bring those pieces together, and they brought them together in front of the Baron as well. And I don't think they can immediately turn over towards this, but this is going to give them a ton of control to set up vision and start to push JDG back.
And they do need to clear out control, because if you look at the minimap, look at how much vision there is still available here for JDG. So even if KT was like, okay, Missing's dead, we want to try and go for something, there was plenty of opportunity to try and punish for the JDG, so KT not going to take the risk. But this is feeling like a type of messy game where KT continuously gets to keep the pressure on their opponents.
And they get the opportunity to set up for big kills on towards Cuzz, 204. He's going to be able to put the herd onto Ruder, focus him down. And when you look at the opportunities for JDG to try and play it back, you have to burn so many different things before you can really get access to people like aiming. When you've got the wall growth, exhaust, flash, the ultimate for the Xayah as well, it's so hard to just kill aiming.
Oh, the W from Missing, he knew.
Yeah.
Well done.
Nicely done. And KT is going to get this mid lane in order. I want to go back to that chaos that we had before. That was crazy.
Give it 30 seconds. We got next dragon
there we go.
and it's going to go insane.
All right, here we go. We might have something here, but no. Cuzz not going to find the knockback with his Vault Breaker. Just going to get over that wall with his next one. Take down these control wards. These Mega Scryer's blooms working out nicely is missing once again. Going to be discovered. Cease and desist comes in, and KT are bearing down on them. There's the Vault Breaker, and Cuzz just does it himself.
And Missing goes from not dying in what feels like the entire series to twice in a row. There is still a lot of cooldowns available for JDG though, so I don't know if KT wants to try and go for Nash.
One stun, they got them!
There it is, the Unleashed power to fly through as well. Knight down to 50%. They should be able to get themselves out of here. Okay, that wasn't even the Unleashed power. My goodness, it's just so much damage.
And that's the thing, BDD is getting to a position with the Shadow Flame where he hurts like hell if you give him that opportunity. Still, looks like JDG, they're gonna right, second dragon for KT, it's a Chem dragon, we don't care, let's try and get this play on the top side. But immediately you're seeing the response coming through from KT. Xayah starting to lean in towards this top side, Lehends covering for Kanavi coming over the wall. BDD, killing nice!
There it is! Oh, the gameplay button, it's not gonna be quite enough. Didn't quite calculate it. And Knight, now he just teleported back, so he's gonna have to go back home again unless he can get some of his health from these big old honey fruits.
But it does mean that the attempt from JDG to overload the top half of the map doesn't actually end up working. If Knight is alive and gets to guide the wave in, they might look for more, but now they have to wait for the next wave. We'll see if Keen is able to actually pick himself up. He gets the inner, that's so much gold.
KT is looking like game number one again, controlling the map, dictating the pace of these fights, and again, Amy and Lehends having control over the bot side means that Ruler just isn't that big of a threat. And now Cuzz, he wants more chaos.
Yeah, there it is once again. The cease and desist comes through. The flash comes out from Kanavi. Doesn't want to get himself in trouble. Teleport to come forward from Keen. He really wants to join this. And they might be thinking that it's Baron time, but in goes the quickness from Missing. Great knock-up, but there is so much damage on KT. He's not going to be doing that one again anytime soon. And JDG, oh, they're going to get stunned. There's a flash over from Keen. Looking for even more with his counter-strike, and 369 will be pounded. And KT get another.
It looks like JDG are getting taken for a ride on the roller coaster. And they're not liking it.
There was no way that this series cannot end in 5 games. After all the doubts, after everything, KT want to push us there. And Baron is in their sights.
Knight
and Ruler are all that's left.
Well, Ruler wants to try the shockwave! The shockwave is massive on the BDD. Lehends goes down as well. And now the Killer Instinct comes forward. Aiming is looking for it, but Ruler says, not today, buddy. And they're even able to catch out Keen, who's looking for Kanavi. It was so good until it was just so bad for KT.
I got excited. I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to do it.
And the roller coaster comes crashing down as Knight and Ruler say no. You will not take the Baron. And JDG turn it around.
And that is a shockwave for the tier list, gentlemen. Let's have a look at it again.
I mean, this was gorgeous. Ruler just playing outside of vision, moves in stealthed to catch BDD, set up the shockwave for Knight, and this is not the first time we've seen Knight find these moments in games like this, hiding these orbs, these balls on Orianna to set up these massive plays, and KT are left routed as they finish off Keen.
And if Keen was there, they might have been able to actually take him down, but it's the fact that towards topside, Keen was trying to stand guard, and Ruler, just the absolute lack of fear just to E in there as Kai'Sa gets JDG to Rebel Baron power play.
And it's so reminiscent of the first time you got to see Knight pick up a title for himself. Summer 2020, he was on the Syndra where he hid just outside of vision to find this big moment to strike. It was at a dragon. This time once more hiding just over the wall with another orb of a different description to set up a play that might have just taken this game out of the hands of KT.
And look at the win probability powered by AWS. You can see it took a real nosedive after that for KT. They do have, of course, they still have decent amount of gold here. Slight advantage, but it really feels like momentum has shifted. And the Rebel Baron power play is still continuing to tick northward. This could be up to 3,000 as this inner turret is going to be taken down. There was a lot of standing gold on this map, and you can see Cuzz and BDD are in the top lane.
Yeah,
they're going to be able to take this inner turret, but the inhib should just be taken down here by JDG. If 4-man strong, still looking to press forward, and 369 might be able to stop the backs. exactly right. JDG, they do just take the inhibitor and they're not looking for too much more. But still, that is not an inhib in trade. That is just an inner turret here.
Cuzz and BDD are trying to see if they can find 369 as he steps away, though. He's playing this so safe, hasn't seen them reset, so going to just back it on up. JDG clearing out the spot side jungle as they go. Do they find Cuzz and BDD?
I think they spot them on that with that control.
Wait, who finds who
Are
again?
we flanking who and stuff again? Dagda, I'm confused. I'm not sure quite what's going on here.
I don't think they can get to Rulo. No, with the speed up. But maybe it allows KT to take some control here. But it looks like instead, JDG just gonna get everyone out of there. Extraction successful. And the gold and dragons will be dead even as we go towards this next Drake fight.
The items aren't so even, though. Look at Ruler. 3 items now complete on towards this Kai'Sa because he benefited off of those kills. Knight's going to be able to finish his Void Staff. Well, actually, probably not quite. Just before the 30-second mark on this. But KT, do they find a roaming Gragas?
Well, he's looking for the back. It's empowered, but there it is, the Everfrost to try and keep him alive. But I have a feeling that even with his Zhonya's, he is still going to die. That is, yeah, that's...
JDG are on the way.
Yeah, they are. They're looking to try and help him out, but that's not going to work out. 4-3-6-9. Can they catch them out of position, or can they just take down some turrets? They don't have a wave, so it looks like the answer is no for now.
And it will mean that they're able to make their way over towards the Dragon Pit first here. This is just for soul points. KT have a lack of control. We'll see if they want to try and go for this nonetheless.
Look how little was used, though. It's only the ult from BDD.
Yeah,
and he wants Ruler.
Teleport flank. I don't know about this one. It could be dangerous immediately. He is going to go into stasis, but the shockwave was put down. The Void Secret Ruler finds it. Kanavi finishes it off. The Featherstorm is going to be used. Aiming is the last hope here for KT. And the cease and desist goes down onto Ruler. KT is still trying to find it, though. Keen gets one back onto the jungler, but into the backline was Cuzz, and he is going to be taken down right there. And as it sits, 2 for 2.
In the 4 versus 5, though, JDG are able to get the 2 for 2. They're able to get the dragon, and it's these magnificent plays. The individual performers from JDG are stepping up massive in Game 4.
And I guess it was a 2 for 1 because 369 was already there.
Yeah, exactly. And the big thing there, I think the call from KT to try and fight, 100% correct. You might not get another opportunity where you are fighting a 5 versus 4, but the problem was that TP flank from BDD, even with stopwatch available, you can't do that against JDG. They are not going to mess up the timing. That shockwave from Knight, pixel perfect, so BDD doesn't get to flash it, and he's down before the fight begins.
And again, Ruler playing on a knife's edge here. This man does not have cleanse, but he's willing to put himself in harm's way to get the kill onto the Syndra with Kanavi, then reposition behind the Jax that's revving up that Counter-Strike to take him down. He's been so clutch with his positioning on this Kai'Sa. It's insane.
Well, they just briefly got notice of missing. He's by himself all the time, so they may not have expected that he had a couple of friends here in position. 4 members of JDG just roaming the KT jungle right now. Tides have turned so incredibly quickly in favor of the LPL first seed here. They are bearing down on KT now.
And it's so remarkable how oppressive JDG feel, because the goal is even, Cuzz.
There's the knock-up. Do manage to get him over the wall there to relative safety. We've got fights happening all over the place. As Knight is fighting Keen, he manages to get the shockwave. He goes golden. Can he survive? Are the rest of JDG going to get here? There's the quickness used by missing, and now it's Keen that could be in trouble, but he does have the counter-strike. There's the Unleashed Power, and it's 369 that pays for Knight's sins. And missing might be getting the same treatment.
Oh, he's going deep!
That is so incredibly deep. The Cuzz is the one that pays the price. At 1 for 1, it's fine.
They got mega cones, and then meanwhile the bot lane wave is pushed in hard, and if Cuzz stays alive there, KT might have gone a Baron, but instead it's just going to be a 1 for 1 trade.
But they have to give up control over the Baron. That's the Nexus turret going down. Baron is in 8 seconds. JDG are back on the map, and 369 is TP. They need to deal with this wave while keeping pressure on the Baron area.
Oh my goodness. Okay, well, KT is sacrificing Nexus turrets just to try and go for this fight. It was almost extraordinary, but the fact that Cuzz went so extraordinarily far, you kind of wish that you had an abort button on that particular R button there. You do not. Cuzz was committed, and now JDG, they're going to start off. The Baron is going down extraordinarily quickly. Ruler has so many items. Keen has teleported in. Can they find a team fight, though, is the question. The Baron is out of it. And Keen, he goes golden, but it's going to be so hard to survive this. Counter-strike or no, shockwave is a bit of a hula hoop, but Ruler is still going to say goodnight to Keen. There's the shutdown onto him. They take a blue buff, and now JDG just looking to press ever further forward with their Baron buff now in hand, with a big gold lead starting to build. This is really feeling like the 3-1 angle for JDG.
The waves aren't really in position for JDG right now, though. None of them are pushed in, so at least for the moment, KT will be able to hold strong, get the resets in. They need to buy time for Keen to come back up, but this is going to be a tough one, especially with only a single Nexus turret remaining. JDG want to try and close it out here with this Baron buff.
We'll see, though. There is still 2 minutes remaining here for JDG. Bot lane inhibitor is now back up for KT, and that should be the first angle of attack for JDG. No turret standing there. Their Rebel Baron power plays have been impeccable, as missing just mega coning all over the place.
It is a dangerous tool in his hands, absolutely, for everyone.
Ruler!
He just looks for Lehends, aiming, gonna get the wild growth, missing, goes forward, and he's the one that might be taken down here as Aiming's moving forward. Ruler gets exhausted, but he's still gonna convince Aiming to exit the fight, and now Cuzz is too far in. He tries to queue away, and somehow it just works out for the JDG AD carry. They'll take the inner turret, and I don't think they're done there.
How the hell are JDG still up and swinging? The Kanavi wants to go, still has the kick. Tower will fall.
30 seconds on Cuzz. KT are going to try and hold on, but I don't know if they can.
Mid lane inhib is going to go down. They do have 1 siege minion available. They're going to have to wait for some waves, though, as they're getting to work on this bottom lane inhibitor. Keen Counter-Strike now on cooldown just for a little bit, but we're pretty late into this game.
15 seconds on Cuzz.
Yeah, BDD, can he actually execute someone? Scatter goes wide, in goes Keen. Looks for the opportunity onto missing, but he's so slippery, and now the Nexus is exposed. JDG a few auto attacks away from the semi-finals as the kick comes in. Aiming tries to stand his ground, but the Nexus is being fired.
It's a roll!
Oh,
Look at the end it! What? The cannon minion got one last shot off and they end the game!
That's how it's done, gentlemen. JDG will be heading to the semi-finals, and KT Rolster will have to start again next year.
Cool, calm and collected as always for JDG.
Yeah, no worries.
Not even close. And to be fair, you know, the ending might have been close, but the way that JDG was able to play out these team fights and regain control after KT tried to introduce so much chaos is remarkable.
What a moment. That is another brick paved. The Golden Road still on the table, and here I just completely gutted after this one. Him and Rapid Star certainly trying incredibly hard with KT this year. But JDG, I just don't think that they can be stopped. They are so incredibly good, such a well-oiled machine. It's just the hope that was gained as KT, a well-deserved bow. They deserve to be here. This was much closer than I think a lot of people expected. JDG just too good.
I think KT showed, though, that JDG can bleed. I mean, game 1, they played absolutely impeccably. This game in game 4 was down to the wire. 1 or 2 plays that had gone the way of KT, and we would have been going to that game 5. That Baron could have been that game 5 moment for KT. And as you say, deserved bow. This has been an incredible performance from KT Rolster here today.
And Shockwave is going to be in my nightmares for a long time.
Again, the fact that Ruler is just like, no, that's fine. I'll E in, because that can be also where you lose the game. KT, if they are somehow able, if they have a ward before, if they take down Ruler, that could be the end of it. But instead, it is the turning point, really, because it felt like after that topside skirmish where KT was able to look. Oh, that tells the story.
Yeah.
And that was all Ruler and Knight together in that 2v4.
Yeah. And I think it says, as you say, wonders about JDG. I mean, another brick paved in the way to that golden road. JDG have looked absolutely incredible when it comes to team fights. Even if they're set behind early, even when it looks like you don't really have an opportunity to come back in a game, JDG will find a way to take that chance with missing, find that road in. 369 attempting to get onto the back line. And as you say, when you've got 2 of the best in the world at their respective positions in Knight and Ruler, who can make that magic happen at any moment, it's so hard to find any leeway against JDG.
Yeah, they were just exceptional here today, and also like just fun. Man, like these games were so incredibly fun. I can say it now. They were exciting, guys. They were exciting. I was excited the whole time. I was just trying to hold it in, and it was just amazing to see Missing's positioning, always looking for these attacks onto KT. And they aggressively went out and took this quarterfinal match. They were making all of the plays. They were taking all of the risks. That man there on your screen as well was doing his best. Cuzz trying to take these aggressive angles. You can see there's a lot of emotion here for both BDD and Keen. These two players were instrumental throughout so much of the KT summer season especially.
And it's also for Keen. This was supposed to be his moment, coming back internationally after a couple of really underwhelming years on a FLICKR such Guangdong, and not really able to showcase what he was capable of after, of course, his debut internationally was not what he wanted. As we take another look at the final moments of this game, and the final auto.
And I mean, it probably doesn't say that much about, like, it doesn't
This is not
change
what-
the outcome
no,
of the series,
absolutely not.
even in a little bit, but what a KT way to lose. Like, that is,
Like,
it's just
The
quintessential,
one
isn't it?
cannon. The one
BDD,
cannon.
oh my god, BDD, yeah, because he even got...
Yeah, he got the other one.
Yeah. That's heartbreaking.
It is.
But, I mean, again, I think JDG, they've been absolutely fantastic. It's inevitable that they are the team to beat. And I'm looking forward now to seeing who's going to join them tomorrow. Because T1 or LNG are looking at that going, lads, we have our work cut out for us.
They absolutely are. However, I mean, Scout versus FLICKR, that is going to be a treat no matter what the outcome is going to be. We've seen LNG versus JDG throughout this year. My goodness, if we got that in a semi-final, I don't think anyone's going to be complaining. I think it's win-win, gentlemen.
I had a
Says
lot
Max
of fun.
trying to hide what he really wants.
Yeah.
But now it is time to throw it over to Law with an interview.
이번 경기 승리를 가져간 진동의 나이트 미싱 선수와 인터뷰 나눠보겠습니다. 승리 축하드립니다.
Congratulations to JDG for taking down their opponent and make it to the semifinals. How are you feeling right now?
今天赢下了比赛，顺利晋级到了4强。那晋级到4强之后，感觉如何呢？奈特选手？
就感觉非常开心吧，在这边打也很多人为我们加油，就很开心。
Feeling so great, and a lot of people are supporting us.
네, 미싱 선수도 소감 부탁드리겠습니다.
And Missing, what about you?
感觉很久没打比赛了，就是挺开心的吧。
It's been quite a while since we played games, so it feels very amazing right now.
모두 기분이 너무너무 좋으실 것 같습니다. 네, 그리고 나이트 선수 올해 다전제에서 단 한 번도 패배한 적이 없는데요. 오늘 승리로 다전제 매치 전승을 이어가게 됐습니다. 다전제에서 징동이 가지는 최대 강점이 뭐라고 생각하는지 궁금합니다.
那这个问题也是想问到 Light 选手，其实
And this question is over tonight.
的比赛上面其实一局未输的，那今天也是稳稳地
JDG hasn't lost a single one best of 5 at World and secured and managed to continue your record. What do you think is the biggest strength of JDG at this World? I think 5 members, 5 players on our team are the strongest players.
선수분들을 향한 믿음이 또 있는 것 같습니다. 네, 그리고 미싱 선수 1세트 패배 이후에 빠르게 뱀픽을 수정하는 모습이 굉장히 인상적이었는데요. 어떤 점을 중점적으로 준비하셨는지도 궁금합니다.
那其实这个问题想问到 Missing 选
And
手，我们在
Missing,
第一局
so
失利之
after
后
game
也是看得
1,
出来做了迅速的调整。
we noticed that you made a lot of adjustments after that loss. So could you tell us a little bit on that?
当时就处理一下他们打野英雄吧。
Yeah, we just focus on dealing with their jungler champions.
아, 네, 또 그런 전략이 있었군요. 네, 그리고 나이트 선수께 질문 이어가겠습니다. 이제
And
LPL 세 팀이 4강에 올라선 가운데 내일 LNG와 T1의 경기가 기다리고 있습니다.
So LPL has 3 teams that already make it to the semifinals, and tomorrow will be the matchup between LNG and T1.
明天就是 T1 对阵 LNG 了，你是如何预测明天的比赛？
What is your expectation for tomorrow's game? These 2 teams are very close, but personally, I really hope that LNG could pick up this win. And I hope that 4 of our LPL teams could make it to the semifinals.
네, 내일 또 어떤 경기 결과가 펼쳐질지 저희도 기대해 보겠습니다. 네, 그리고 미싱 선수 오늘 POS로 선정된 만큼 라칸으로 엄청난 존재감을 보여주셨는데요. 4강에선 어떤 모습을 보여주고 싶은지 각오 들어보겠습니다.
And missing you're the player of the series, especially your Rakan was spectacular. So what's your resolution in playing the semifinals? I hope that no matter who we are facing off against, hopefully I can perform at my best form in the upcoming matches. Last but not least, Knight.
세상에 알리고 싶다라고 포부를 밝힌 선수인데요. 네, 앞으로의 각오 들어보겠습니다.
So before, you once said that you wanted to be the strongest mid laner in the LPL. What's your resolution afterwards? I'm getting closer and closer to this goal. And finally, probably meet this expectation, meet my goal this year. And this will be the end of this interview. Thank you, and congratulations again.
Thanks. Amazing. What a victory for JDG. We were just saying, all jokes aside, or actually jokes that with Azale's current suit, he could rock some of the JDG
The JDG
trainers.
shoes?
Yes.
Hey, I'm just saying, if they want to give me some free shoes, I'll try them on.
Okay. We'll see if you can rock them as well as them. And it was already said, it was already said in the interview there, but the Oppo player of the series is missing. And I know he had, a couple of oopsies, a few only in that last game, but you have to push the limit sometimes to push the limit.
He was incredible, I think, throughout. Yeah, he got picked a couple times, but I mean, it was them committing a lot. It wasn't like he walked in and died for free. They're committing Vi ulti, they're committing Syndra ulti. And throughout, he was so reliable on the engages, always getting the backline, always putting the pressure on, positioning and attacking the backline from the right angles. To me, this was just a Rakan masterclass.
Yeah, I mean, I think the biggest thing is like it's a series play, and across his Rakan was such a difference maker. It always allowed them to have really, really strong engage in a lot of these fights, and JDG excel when they are able to do this, right? When someone like missing on the Rakan, initiating the fight, and then the rest of them are able to pile in, Ruler firing from the backline, like it's just the way that they set up these team comps as well, and the way that Missing was able to facilitate and start these fights was amazing.
I mean, even just the little things. We obviously saw that team fight earlier, but watching that again, he's sidestepping the feather pull in the midst of the fight while engaging, while doing all these little things. So to me, the presence of mind to be able to track everything at once is just like...
It's crazy, and I think a lot of the players really came online at the same time, specifically Ruler and Knight, to save this game, really, and to break Emily's heart, unfortunately, for KT.
But to me, it was all about the vision. It's all about the vision here. They actually have that pink ward. They know that Knight's there, but by the time he wards over, it's too late, and they didn't have any angle to actually retreat.
And I know, like, I've been playing the KT fan on this broadcast. JDG are not only a phenomenal team who's going for Golden Road, but we talked about how the team sets up, right? How they want these 5v5s, how they set up around the objectives. This is just a straight up outplay by 2 of their best players, potentially the best player in the world in Ruler. Like, this is why you have these players. It's not only that JDG are a phenomenal team, but it's that they can pull out these random, insane outplays against their opponents to keep them in the game. Because I actually did think we were going to a game 5.
Yeah, I thought so too. And you had a good point, Chuck. You were talking about it. I mean, I think Ruler played a good series. He played solid all series long. But in this final game, like, he went sicko mode. You got to see why everyone talks about him all the time, right? He just went insane in the final moments of the game and kind of almost single-handedly, it felt like, took over those fights where he's just really playing his champion to the absolute limit. He's going for the highest possible DPS builds. He's positioning perfectly. He's playing perfectly. And then you're just like, well, what are you supposed to do?
What are you supposed to do? Just
what
die,
are you supposed to
apparently.
do?
But Ruler is
like
standing
KT.
by. Aw, Ruler is standing by with Lore in the Verizon post-game interview.
Thank you so much, Shox. We're back here in the interview area with Ruler, who will go once again in semifinals. 축하드립니다. Thank you so much for joining me today, and congrats on taking down KT Rolster. They won the first game, and then you steamrolled throughout the rest of the series. But how close were the game for you, and does it match the expectations you had coming into this series against them?
오늘 비록 상대팀이 1세트를 가져왔지만 나머지 세트에서 힘으로 치면서 오늘 승리 가져오셨습니다. 오늘 경기 어떤 식으로 잘 된 것 같으신지 그리고 예상한 대로 잘 나왔나요?
일단 첫 번째 판 때 느낀 게 그냥 저희가 라인전 불리한 픽해도 그냥 무난하게 주도권을 계속 잡을 수 있겠다 싶어서 그렇게 했는데 잘 먹힌 것 같다고 생각이 듭니다.
Well, what we figured after playing game number 1 was we can just opt into a weaker matchup in the laning phase and we can just play out the game well. So I think it worked really well.
It came out to specific champions in field, and especially on the bot lane, missing's Rakan was completely deadly, and the synergy was on point between the two of you. Can you tell me about the draft decision makings? Because it felt like before today, a lot of enchanters were coming back, but you guys defaulted to this.
오늘 시리즈에 정말 주요한 픽을 하나 꼽자면 미싱 선수의 라칸이었던 것 같은데요. 그리고 두 선수 바텀 듀오의 정말 시너지도 엄청 났습니다. 오늘 경기 전까지는 사실은 이제 바텀 서포터 픽에서 특히나 이제 좀 유틸형 서폿이 또 많이 나오고 있었는데 오늘 경기 뱀픽은 어떤 식으로 접근하셨나요?
일단 워낙 미싱이 라칸이 잘하다 보니까 좀 저희가 고집해서 뽑은 경향도 좀 있었고 하지만 오늘 경기 해보면서 조금은 티어를 조정해야 되지 않나 싶은 생각이 많이 들었습니다.
Well, because Missing is so good at Rakan, we were a little bit, we were just like insisting to stick to that pick. But after today's series, I think we have to make a little adjustment with our tier list.
It'll be interesting coming into the next series. But something we've talked about a lot today was the consistency that defends your entire career, Ruler. From the moment you won Worlds until today, how much stronger do you feel, especially within this JDG collective?
오늘 또 많은 분들이 주목했던 부분이 룰러 선수가 정말 고점의 기량을 정말 장기간 유지하고 있다는 점이 대단하다는 건데요. 월즈 우승했을 때와 지금까지를 비교해 봤을 때 얼마나 더 강해졌다고 생각하시는지 특히나 지금 징동과 함께 하시잖아요. 얼마나 더 좀 더 성장했다고 보시나요?
일단 확실히 롤드컵을 우승했을 때 저보다 그냥 생각부터가 많이 다르고 그냥 엄청난 차이가 많이 난다고 생각합니다.
I see so many changes and difference. Like basically, the way I think has changed so much. So I would say I've changed and stepped up so much.
I think that doesn't seem to change is the love that you carry for your former teammates from Genji, flashing the emotes throughout the series. And you eliminate Lehends today, your former support with which you went to semifinals last year. What does it mean to you to knock out an LCK team, but also your former support?
그래도 변하지 않는 게 있다면 룰러 선수의 젠지 사랑이라고 할 수 있는데 오늘도 젠지 그 감정 표현도 보여주셨고 또 오늘 어떻게 보면 마음이 아팠던 게 함께했던 이제 서포터 선수인 리엔즈 선수를 탈락시켰잖아요. 젠지도 이제 월즈에서 탈락되었고 이제 이런 식으로 LCK에서 다른 지역으로 이적한 뒤에 LCK 팀을 탈락시킨다든지 전 동료를 탈락시킬 때는 또 어떤 감정이 드시나요?
솔직히 좀 감정은 되게 좋지 않고 안 그래도 이제 한국 팀 플러스 이제 좀 같이 했었던 선수다 보니까 좀 많이 좀 되게 생각보다 마음이 많이 더 아팠고 뭔가 좀 그렇네요 기분이.
Well, this never feels okay, It always really rough for me. I was playing up against an LCK team and my former teammates, so it was heartbreaking to me, so it was really difficult.
A lot of respect, of course, but at the end of the line, you advanced to semifinals, one step away from being maybe the first team in the world who carries the golden road. Do you think you can make it, and how strong is JDG right now at Worlds?
이제 4강 진출하신 만큼 정말 캘린더 그랜드 슬램까지 얼마 남지 않았습니다. 정말 가능한 그런 업적이라고 생각하시는지 그리고 JDG와 함께하는 만큼 얼마나 자신 있으신지 궁금합니다.
일단 JDG랑 함께하는 만큼 좀 자신감은 넘치는 상태지만 저는 진짜 너무 힘들다고 생각해서 불가능하다라고 생각하면서 좀 달릴 예정입니다.
Because I'm with JDG, I'm very confident, but at the same time, it is a very difficult and almost like an impossible thing to achieve. So what I have in mind is that it's impossible. That's the mindset I'm having.
Any words that you would have to share for the international fans watching
마지막으로
this
국제 팬분들께 한마디?
Thank you, fans. I love you.
Ruler, thank you so much. 인터뷰 감사합니다.
감사합니다. Thank you. 감사합니다.
The effort of speaking in English, Jisun, amazing as always. Thank you so much. Shox, over to you.
Thank you. He was talking to you, Azale.
Yeah, I was going to say. I thought we had a connection.
That, right?
I could see, the eye contact. It was a special
Oh my
moment.
God.
It was a
It
special
was.
moment.
It
yeah.
was. Oh, great to hear from Ruler. Yeah, of course, talking about the Golden Road, and it's just so interesting to me. You know, in 2017, he was with the LCK with Samsung, winning his first world title then in Beijing, right? He then went on famously to the LPL. He's building even more of a name for himself, and now he, as a Korean player, could win it again, but then here in Korea, kind of killing the hopes of all the Korean fans who still love him, right?
Yeah, and I mean, you heard him talk about, like, he was like, yeah, actually, this was really tough, right?
Yeah.
Because it was just a year ago, I was in the LCK, and not only in the LCK, but my bot lane partner was Lehends, someone I was facing directly in the 2v2 today. And as you saw that tweet from Ashley Kong come up, where it said, you know, on this day previously, is when he did it. So it's a big day for him, both with this win, but also just historically.
I mean, I'm sure it is kind of a little bit conflicting, right? He even played and won in Asia Games for Korea this year. Then he comes back to Korea, you know, in front of friends, family, as a Korean, you know, playing for an LPL team and beating your home league. You know, it has to feel a little bit conflicting.
Yeah.
But he is just such a good player. And I think T1, the hope is still alive for LCK.
only hope for
they
the
are the
LCK.
last team remaining outside of the LPL from any region. Everyone else is already gone. The LPL have just been dominating. So it's all up to T1 to see if they can keep it from being an all-LPL semifinals.
Yeah. Yes, I mean, they are the last LCK hope standing. In a way, I think it's so poetic and so beautiful that it is FLICKR and that it is T1, but
That's why he's the GOAT!
But I'm also realistic in that this is going to be difficult. I mean, I did not expect the LPL to not only send all 4 to bracket stage. Yes, that could happen, of course. But now to be so strong that they might have all 4 in the semifinals.
Yeah, and I mean, I think the big thing is LNG are no slouch, right?
Nope.
Like, this is a team that hotly contested
Second best
JDG.
team, I think,
Yeah,
in LPL.
and they look really, really strong going forward. Obviously, the thing I'm looking forward to the most is the 1v1 versus Scout and FLICKR, right? Just because, for people that don't know, Scout used to be FLICKR's like backup. He was a trainee behind FLICKR on T1.
Understudy.
I mean, it's incredible. And LPL has never had 4 teams in the knockout stage, ever. And no region has ever had all 4 in the top 4. It's never been done before. So I think it would be that massive statement from the LPL that the time of the LCK is over.
Whoa.
Wow.
Strong statement, Nazael. Hey, remember to lock your pick'ems for tomorrow. T1 versus LNG. But T1, they lost to the fairy tale story in DRX last year. Can they take on the mantle? Can they be the DRX that the LCK needs them to be this year? I don't know. It's going to be so difficult, but hey, crazier things have happened at Worlds, so you have to keep believing, especially if you're an LCK fan. It's 2-0 in favor of the LPL so far, but tomorrow it's none other than 3-time world champion T1 trying to defend the honor of the LCK versus LNG Esports. In just a few minutes, the final round of the TFT Runeterra Reforged Championship will be played as well. We'll raid over there too, so stick around and watch that. So, you know, you can cool down a little from this.
And they can win those.
Those they can
Cheering
win!
LCS
So,
fans.
we'll be back tomorrow, same place, same time. See you then.
Dominus comes out, there's the crash down, and Cuzz is gonna turn, he flashes forward, can they get it? No, they can't. First blood picked up by JDG, immediately answered though by KT, and now flashes away, BDD trying to get into the Moonlight Vigil, flies forward, and Amy's gonna lock down the first kill. Rule is dead as well as BDD, perfect execution, and KD will tear JDG apart. Is this really happening? Can he actually find it? Shape Splitter comes through to confuse them, but they will not be confused this time. First blood goes to Cuzz. KT are on the board. And he gets picked up by the Pop Blossom, has to flash. Moonlight Vigil is going to miss! Yeah, Kanavi gonna go back in. No way! No way! Of course he's flashing in! That used to be the ruler position. This time he's taking nades. Yeah, Cuzz looking for that opportunity. Well done, it comes down. There's the Magnus Storm as okay. Cuzz is just gonna get caught out. The Magnus Storm is gonna be used.
Into account that this is JDG Ruler.
Yeah, Hook is going to connect there. Ruler gonna be taken down underneath. Counter-Strike is on cooldown as well. In comes BDD though. Can he actually get the kill? There it is for 369 Emperor's Divide. He's going to pick that one up. Cuzz, the last man standing. And JDG, I think they've just gone to match point.
Nice.
Ruler is looking for it. Kanavi finds it. First blood goes to Ruler. And BDD finds a scatter onto 3. Okay, in they come. Keen looks for it. It's 369 that they go for. First scat of the week does come through, and there's a cease and desist. Gameplay button comes in.
Kanavi's on his way. Ruler are all that's left.
Well, Ruler wants to try to Shockwave! Shockwave is massive on the BDD. Lehends goes down as well. Aiming tries to stand his ground, but the Nexus is being fired. It's the roll! Oh, the Academy, you got one last shot off at the end. That's how it's done, gentlemen. JDG will be heading to the semi-finals, and KT Rolster will have to start again next year.
Once you play God, once you play God.